Hey everybody, if there's anybody actually watching, maybe not. Welcome to episode 59 of the Ascendant Art podcast. I'm Lil Chad, joined as always by Slender Dad. How you doing, Slender?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I know that you just got off your shift working with Officer Mads over on YouTube as well, arresting some criminals. How did that go?
We ran into some incidents, but you'd have to go see the body cam footage to know what I'm talking about. So you can find that over at Mad Barmer Entertainment.
That's true. I will say that there was significantly high lost points for being bad police officers this time.
No, there were significantly high lost points because apparently shooting a car is police brutality, even if there's no one in the car.
I feel like negligently discharging your weapon is worth a few points coming off the board.
I mean, I've done it before and I didn't get in trouble at all.
Well, that was when you were in your neighborhood just shooting a storefront. Or if I remember right from the last time you guys worked a shift.
Yeah, we ran into some issues. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Hopefully we'll do better next shift.
The got to protect and serve the people, man. Don't need to bring the reputation of the boys in blue down any lower. That's not good.
They just don't like the way we handle policing. We're kind of like your lethal weapon style cops.
Your guys there are no rules to hold you guys down, right?
No,
You make your own. What was it in the '80s? The taglines they play by their own rules.
we definitely play by our own rules.
Uh, so yeah, that's going to be a good time. So that is available right now to go watch. Tonight we're going to be having some fun because this week, as you may have seen from my highly sophisticated YouTube thumbnail, we're going to be discussing the announced slate of DC films. You know, these are the movies that were so good that James Gunn thought it was a great idea to just show Henry Cavill the door and no longer have him playing Superman because we got to reset everything. Except we're not resetting everything because apparently Ezra Miller is going to get to stay as the Flash, which seems pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, way to keep on your worst fucking player.
Number one, he's got a weird look, and I don't think he puts any butts in the seats. I don't think anyone's going to a Flash movie because of Ezra Miller.
No.
I mean, when Tobey Maguire was playing Spider-Man, people loved Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I am still on team Tobey Maguire as far as Spider-Mans go. He was the one I liked. I don't really like any of the others as much.
I do think Andrew Garfield got a bit of a redemption arc with the No Way Home when he got to come back.
I haven't seen No Way Home yet, but I've heard nothing but good things, so eventually I'll get around to it.
Oh, I think you should definitely check that one out. It was a good, just fun time, which you don't get a lot in the movies. We like to talk. I think it's worth noting when we do have a few of those. So let's go ahead and load up. I've got a link here to a story that has basically the full list of DC films that'll be coming out under this new group. So here we go. DC Slate unveiled, new Batman, Supergirl movies, a Green Lantern TV show, and more. So let's see what we got.
Yeah, and a bunch of this stuff is not even stuff that James Gunn had anything to do with. This is just stuff that was already in the can, ready to go, and now he has to get out and promote, right?
Two of them are. Well, three. Shazam, the Flash movie, and Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, which is
okay.
Apparently, Jason Momoa gets to stay as Aquaman, too. Aqua Bro is locked in and won't be going anywhere anytime soon. So we've got,
So they're only getting rid of Henry Cavill.
Isn't that some shit? like
what about Wonder Woman? Is she still around?
the Gal Gadot thing is a little questionable because I'm going to show you the project they're working on, and I can't tell whether that's one that is going to be her getting shown the door or not. So we'll go down the list. So we've got first is an animated series called Creature Commandos with it looks
A
like
7-episode animated series written by Gunn that is already in production. Originally a team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis. This is a modern take on the concept. The voice that goody, a modern take on the concept. Oh, I'm so glad. We really need stuff, more shit that's written for a modern audience. We really do.
modern takes, right? That's what's going to win the audience over. Not Henry Cavill as Superman. Modern takes on. It looks like this is Warner Brothers' way of getting the classic Universal monsters on their roster. Because I mean, it looks like we've got a Creature from the Black Lagoon style sea monster.
Except it's a girl.
Yeah, except it's a current year. It's a girl. We've got some kind of flaming skeleton, but we've got Frankenstein, Frankenstein, and Bride of Frankenstein.
I am Groot.
Yeah, some kind of monster, and then Weasel, which is actually, since it's funny you bring up the I am Groot part, because if you watch the Suicide Squad, which is James Gunn's movie that he's done so far for DC,
yeah,
the Weasel character was motion capped by his brother Sean Gunn, who's the same guy who does the motion capture for Rocket Raccoon and Guardians of the Galaxy. So
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with this, but like there is not even the slightest bit of originality in this. This is literally just I'm gonna rip off Suicide Squad and I'm gonna rip off Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I see a little mix of both there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. This is, and it seems like they're going to do it animated so they can test the waters and not really have to invest a whole buttload of money like in a Guardians of the Galaxy for the big screen. Sean Gunn has a weird body. Oh, Mads, your partner in crime is here. So, yeah, I do think, and for people who may not recognize him from the motion capture, obviously, because it's replaced with a digital raccoon. In the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies, he's the Ravager friend who replaced Yondu with the mohawk thing at the end. He was also in Gilmore Girls for a long time. Correction, partner-in-law. Partner-in-law. I don't know. We were discussing at the beginning of the show about negligently discharging firearms into vehicles, so that seems a little illegal, Matt. And I don't know. It seems kind of criminal behavior. I guess you have qualified immunity, though, so you're good to go. So after Creature Commandos, this is the interesting one. Waller, right? So James Gunn is firing Henry Cavill, who was the one person that most people really, really liked out of the Zack Snyder stuff. I'd say the castings choices that were the most well received out of the Zack Snyder era were Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Henry Cavill as Superman. Regardless of how you felt their movies actually went, people liked them as the characters as in terms of casting. So James Gunn is getting rid of Cavill definitely, and there's a question mark on if he's getting rid of Gal Gadot, but he sure as heck is keeping the people that he created, because this is a spin-off of his Peacemaker show that he did, which his wife coincidentally stars in. Are you sensing a theme of nepotism coming here from James Gunn? His brother gets parts.
Bit of a pattern here, yeah.
His wife gets parts.
I mean, Viola Davis will return as the ruthless and morally ambiguous head of a government task force. Isn't she like one of the most unlikable characters in the DCU?
But she's on purpose. She's the unlikable,
right. But has she been in a movie that did well?
Well, she was in the first. She was in both Suicide Squad movies. In the first Suicide Squad movie, even though it was very poorly received, was financially successful.
It was a commercial success.
It made like $700-800 million worldwide. I feel like one of those is like it's like one of those Transformers movies. It made money, but did it really make money? Like people didn't really like it. China made the Chinese box office was a big chunk of what they were doing. So
Also, another question: did they hire James Gunn to write all the stories, or did they hire him to run the fucking studio?
So the answer is they hired him to run the studio, and he's giving himself the jobs.
I get the feeling these are gonna suck. They're gonna be half-assed and unfocused.
I think the stuff that kind of leans into the James Gunn aesthetic might be okay. Like Waller. I mean, if you liked Peacemaker, Waller's probably going to be more of the same. Now he's not writing Waller. That's being written by the person who did the Watchmen television series for HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to say that was divisive, I think is an understatement.
I watched a little bit. I didn't like it that much.
No, I mean, what's interesting about the Watchmen television series is on the one hand, it was very authentic. Like the Ozymandias stuff with Jeremy Irons was legit good. Like it was something that felt very true to that character. But then the other stuff set on like in Oklahoma that just seemed completely out of left field for the Watchmen like universe, where it was about the practical implications of super people in the world. And I think they were just, it seemed like two different shows being pasted together.
I don't know. Watchmen is it's really dark, so it's kind of not my jam to begin with, but
all right. And so right underneath it is the money one, right?
Another one that Gunn is writing. Yay!
This one. So this is a big deal, right? Like, because this is, see the thumbnail. This is what, Henry Cavill couldn't stay on because, according to James Gunn, when he's writing, and he's the one writing this for his Superman movie that they're making, Henry Cavill just doesn't work. It's not an origin story, but for some reason, I guess Henry Cavill just seems too old for the part. They want what a code is. They want someone younger who can be Superman for another 20 years, maybe.
It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. I can't believe they actually let the American way come back into it.
Oh, they're already getting shit for that on some of the parts of the internet. Like, what are you doing with that? And so I was well,
surprised. Guess what?
Yeah.
Everybody who gives pushback on that can fuck off, because that's what he embodies. That has always been what Superman stood for. Whether you like it or not, you commie bastards.
Fact check true. You're very I kind of agree with you. Like Superman is meant to be an icon of Americana. Like you may not agree with that, but the reason Superman represented the values he did is because he was how do I put this? He was an idealized version of what an American standing up for American values should be. Kind of like Captain America. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah. And just to go off on a little aside, for all the people who don't want him to stand for the American way anymore because you hate America so much because America's such a shitty country or whatever, sure, America's a shitty country. Guess what? So is every other motherfucking country on the planet. So you can just stuff that shit. It really bugs me. It pissed me off to no end when they took the American way out of Superman. So I'm glad to see it back. And anyone who has a problem with that can fuck right off and go find some not American superhero to be a fan of. You don't get to just fucking tear down Superman because you don't like what he stands for. And I don't even like Superman that much. I've always said he's too fucking powerful.
Well, Superman's powers go up and down depending on the writer. It's That's true for a lot of superhero stuff too, where the power creep is really dependent on who's actually right. Sometimes you'll have Superman where he's slight, like he's a strong guy, he can fly, but he's not like super invulnerable to everything. And other guys like Grant Morrison write it so when he's charged up on solar power, he's basically a god, and you can't really do anything to him. So I don't know. I don't know how he's going to write this.
I don't either, but it already gets my blood boiling when you tell me that people are pissed off about the American way being reintroduced into Superman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just more interested to see what was so magic about his movie that Henry Cavill couldn't pull it off. Henry
Oh,
Cavill
I
doesn't
can't
look
wait to
old.
see, but we won't get to know until we see, will we?
Well, yeah. I think when that first trailer or when they announced the casting, that's going to be interesting. If it's, let's see, what is that? They hate seeing an illegal alien integrate into the U.S. culture and it adopts its ideals and principles. That's a good point. Like, should he be running around with like a Kryptonian? I guess he technically does. So the S used to just be S for Superman, and then they retconned it to be the Kryptonian symbol for his house. So I guess he kind of is an immigrant who's rocking around like with his flag and not completely adopting the system.
Nah, brah.
Let's see. Oh, welcome, Jonas, who's an awesome writer for thatparkplace.com. Go check that out. Him and WDW Pro do some great work. Their solution here is to mess with the definition of America. Oh no, that's bad. That's a good point. What do you think, Slender? They might bring back the American way, but they just change what American means.
I don't want to talk about it. I will get very heated about it. I mean, I don't know how you can mess with the definition of America when it's still written in the founding fucking documents. But I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they've tried to redefine everything else in the modern era. Why not America?
All right. So after that, this is interesting. So moving on from Superman, because I think we're going to get a whole episode out of when they finally announce the casting, and we can really.
Lanterns. Ooh, that's a moneymaker.
So it's all right. So the backstory on this one is Greg Berlanti, who was the guy who ran, Arrow, the Flash TV show. Basically, he was the CW DC guy. He was doing a Green Lantern show that was going to be on HBO Max, and it was going to be a Greg Berlanti level show. And when James Gunn came in, they basically said, "No, we're done with. That's not going to happen. We're going to do our own thing." And apparently, their version of it is to make a True Detective style cop show with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. And I really don't know what to think about that. Because on the one hand, I enjoyed the first season of True Detective. I know I've heard from Script Doctor and some other people where they've got a lot of problems with it. I thought it was an entertaining season of television, but I don't know that it's right for superheroes. Like True Detective is some dark stuff, and if they're going to be doing the dark stuff with Green Lanterns, they should be doing Sinestro's origin when he was a Green Lantern and was, eventually becomes basically space Hitler.
So True Detective is another HBO thing. Like they're really just digging into the old library of shit that they saw on HBO, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean everything on HBO it's HBO Max, right? So it's their own products. They can rip off their own stuff as needed.
I guess.
All right. This is the one that came out of nowhere. The Authority.
I've never even heard of it.
You've never heard of it because it's based on Wildstorm characters, and Wildstorm was Jim Lee's imprint for Image that he sold to DC Comics.
Okay.
Do you ever remember the comic book Wildcats? It was decently known in the early 90s, and they got a cartoon and had a character named Grifter.
Wildcats?
Yeah.
Let me look it up because it's not ringing any bells.
I do like the idea of bringing a character called Grifter into the YouTube vernacular.
Wildcats from 1980s. No, that's
no Wildcats. That was with Goldie Hawn, and she played a girl football coach.
What's it called? Is it called Wildcats?
Do Wildcats and add Jim Lee into your search.
Jim Lee. What the fuck is this?
Wait until you see the DC's Oz. I effing love him.
Yeah, the cover has not captured my interest in the slightest.
Oh, see, there you go. Mads is clarifying because it's Wildcats. Covert Action Team, I believe.
It got a whole 6 volumes.
That's because they kept restarting because Jim Lee could not hit a friggin' deadline to save his life.
Original Wildcats Covert Action Team consisted of Spartan, Grifter, Zealot, Voodoo. Maul,
yeah, Voodoo was the attractive one.
Warblade, Void, and Lord Emp.
Yeah, he was the little guy who ran the team.
Okay.
But that's not even the main, like, so that was the most popular of the team of like the characters for the imprint. And then they're going deeper than that to use the Authority, which was a even less popular and known superhero team from that imprint. Let's see what's Jonas. Authority has Earth's Batman and Superman that are in a relationship. It's woke by definition. Yes. So let me find a picture of it. So the characters are Midnighter and Apollo. And they are in a relationship.
One of the things DCU is that it's not just a story of heroes and villains. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. No film or TV show is about good guy versus bad guy these days. Every bad guy has to be a sympathetic dude. Giant things from the sky come and good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats. Added Saffron. Congratulations. You have a basic concept of humanity.
I'm gonna share something for you because you want it. So Midnighter and Apollo are the leads for that team with the Authority. Would you like to see a really famous kind of piece of art, that they're featured in?
Sure. Stop it. Turn it off. Send it away. I don't want it. I don't want it.
This is your that's your power couple that's going to take on Superman. You're being dead silent.
I have nothing to say until this screen goes away.
All right.
I do not care about their sexuality. They're fucking superheroes. Can I watch them do superhero things?
Oh, you're gonna watch them do things. They're gonna do
superhero things.
Oh, they're gonna super a lot of things, and you're gonna be happy with it. You'll be made to like that. So there is a famous story called basically it was Superman versus not the Authority, but it was another group. What was that? Now I'm going blank on it. The speculation is that James Gunn is kind of going to use the Authority to replace that superhero group and have Superman go up against him eventually. I think the Authority is a. I think he got an inflated ego because Guardians of the Galaxy worked for him, and so he thinks he can just do whatever he wants. And this is one that's gonna blow up in his face.
We'll see. So far, this none of this is looking all that interesting to me.
So this is the one that's interesting because Paradise Lost is going to be an HBO Max show, and it's going to be set on Themyscira. Yeah, that same picture would be weird if it was Superman and Wonder Woman. You don't usually gonna. That's not what you're looking for in your superhero comic books generally. You can get relationship dynamics like because I'm a big proponent of Spider-Man and Mary Jane actually being a married couple, and I'm really still mad that Casada made that go away. Oh, we've got another guest coming in. What's up, Mads?
Okay, a couple things. One, Slender, you need to expand your comic book knowledge. Grifter was an awesome character. Loved him.
Oh, Grifter's great. And his character design with just the little mask.
Yeah, and the trench coat is like a mix of old Logan and Punisher, kind of.
Mm. Yeah.
It's a worn down, beat up noir type detective kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. So maybe Iceman and I want to say Polaris. I think, Jonas, I think Polaris was with Havoc, was her pairing in the 90s.
You're talking about Grifter? Man?
Grifter. He's got the red mask with
former
the
government
hair.
operative and member of Team 7, skilled marksman and hand-to-hand combatant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think Iceman was with Kitty Pryde, Jonas. That's who I think was who you were probably thinking of.
The character sounds cool, but the overall concept of the Wildcats does not look that interesting to me.
What? It's Secret Alien. It's right up James Gunn's. It's in his wheelhouse because it's aliens that pretend to be humans, and you have to look past their disguise.
And I would agree with that, Mads. But he's not doing Wildcats. He's doing the Authority, which is where he took like the Wildstorm imprint, and Wildcats is the best group out of it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to go even 2 tiers lower than them. And I'm going to pull a movie out of that because I'm telling you, I think he's high on his own success with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's probably like, fuck it. If I can make Guardians of the Galaxy, success, I can make a gay Superman and a gay Batman the biggest hit of the year.
And I'm sorry, but Paradise Lost, a Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that Wonder Woman's birthplace, Themyscira. So what is this? This is gonna be a bunch of lesbians killing each other?
I mean, have you been around groups of women together? It's actually probably more accurate than you'd think. I mean,
that's almost my point, though. This is a thing they are going to do. Like, I don't want to watch this.
Jonas, maybe I'm misremembering episode of X-Men animated series. Yeah, because they did do Polaris and Havoc on the X-Men animated series, and it was a pretty good little run. But yeah, Slender, I was going to tell you, it'd be like if you made Sleepaway Camp and just had it all like. Imagine if it was just like that girl's.
If it was Sleepaway Camp, there would be a guy intruder among the women of Themyscira. Now, wouldn't there?
That's true. But no, Slender, man, you lock 3 women into a room for an hour, 2 of them are going to be walking out.
Well, because their moon cycles sync up almost immediately from what
yeah. Not for all of them. Sometimes there's one who's not ever going to cycle up and it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, but that one is gonna stare at you and not say a fucking word.
or just that end shot, man, with the scream. that look. Oh, apparently that actor. It was an actress goes to the like Hollywood, like the Scream Queen conventions and has headshots of her doing that face. So people will pay for a lot of things apparently.
Weird.
But what's interesting, what I was gonna get is Gal Gadot is listed as a producer on this Paradise Lost show. If she's getting fired from being Wonder Woman, it's kind of weird to keep her on as a producer, but at the same time, Hollywood's weird, and sometimes they always get to stay on as producers, even for shit that they're not involved in. It's Hollywood accounting is like crazy.
I don't know. The more I hear about it, the more I think they just got rid of Henry Cavill because they didn't like him.
Yeah, I think Polaris was Lorna Dane, so maybe they did do Iceman on that. Maybe I'm misremembering. I got to go back and watch the animated series myself, but I'm not watching it on Disney Plus, so I'm waiting for it to be available at my local library on DVD because I'm not giving Disney money. So the library purchased that DVD set a long time ago, so I'm gonna make it work for me. All right, now the Brave and the Bold. This is another one where James Gunn is kind of speed running things, and I'm not sure I like it. He's doing a Batman movie.
Speedrunning has fucked up so many DC movies already.
Yeah, he's jumping right to Damian Wayne as Robin. So that means we're skipping, and I'm going to go in chronological order. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Stephanie, what was her last name? Spoiler for just a little bit. All the way up to Damian being Robin. So we're getting like 5 Robins deep. And so I don't know this Batman, if he's supposed to be younger, if they're going to end up skipping all the other Robins, which is going to be kind of a weird thing, or they're going to pretend like they happened and just moved on.
And then on top of that, if we're trying to make this, this DC extended universe and all that crap, like you're basically telling us that you are skipping ahead to old as fuck Batman, but you needed a younger Superman?
Yeah, Henry Cavill's got some problems, I think, where he got some arguments about why this is stupid.
Because like when Damian Wayne gets introduced into the whole Batman scene, like Batman's already an older Batman at that point. Like,
yeah, he's effectively been Batman for around 20 years by the time Damian.
Yeah, so he's like pushing 50.
No, he's pushing like 40, early 40s. He became Batman in his early 20s.
Yeah.
So Damian is around Damian's only supposed to be 12 or 13 years old.
Right.
So, and Damian was bred in secret by Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul. So,
but he's over 40. Batman is at this point.
Approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they're saying tween Damian. So if they keep tween Damian on point, this Batman should be probably at least mid-30s, if not a little older, which would put him right in line with being the same age as Henry Cavill for Superman. So what the hell were they thinking? I don't know. But what's even more fun is, even though they're doing that, they're still doing a sequel to the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
So they're going to have 2 Batmans going at the same time and hope that doesn't confuse people.
Okay. I mean, I haven't even seen the one with Robert Pattinson, and to be quite perfectly honest, I thought
I actually didn't. I didn't mind it at all.
Stupid.
The Riddler wasn't good as the Riddler. They should have. They could have. I thought if he was Calendar Man or Zaz, it would have been better. Just make him a serial killer villain, and you're better off. But they were looking.
Yeah, I saw nothing in what little I saw in clips and such to lead me to believe that guy was the Riddler, other than the fact that he wore an outfit that almost looked like it might have one day been a Riddler outfit. Well, no, it really wasn't. Never mind. So it had a question mark on it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they did do. Yeah, like the stuff he gave was Riddler, like branded, but aside from the gimp mask that he wore. So Jonas is putting they're going to be marketing this character to preschoolers with a child out of wedlock, which they already did with Superman Returns, but nobody watched. That's right, because there was a storyline in Superman Returns where he had abandoned Lois when she was pregnant, and he comes back and she's got his kid illegitimately years
Well, if
later.
you haven't figured out from both DC and Marvel and Disney, I mean, men aren't allowed to do the right thing. It is not in our nature to do the right thing. We are incapable of doing the right thing. If we see the right thing and know the right thing, we will look at the right thing, and then the laws of the universe will turn us away from it, and we will go do the worst possible thing instead. According to DC and Marvel and Disney.
True. That at least current year DC, Marvel, Disney.
Oh my god.
So this is where a lot of people think he's going to be trying to get in with bring Chris Pratt into the DC universe with Booster Gold.
Here's the thing. Chris Pratt would be perfect for Booster Gold.
So Booster Gold is a character you know.
Yes, I am familiar with Gooster Bold. Gooster Bold. Gooster Bold. No, yes.
So Mads, is it funny that he knows Booster Gold but didn't know Grifter?
It's absurd.
I don't remember why I know Booster Gold. All I remember is he's not really a superhero. He's just some dude from the future with super tech. And he's fucking hilarious.
It's super tech for us, but I think it's basic, shit from the time he comes. But he's like, nah, I'm gonna be really cool.
Yeah, that's why he didn't go back to the future.
Yeah.
Did you used to watch the Superman animated series that was on in the 90s?
Maybe.
I did.
Yeah, because that's how you would know Booster Gold then, because he was in an episode or two of that show.
Yeah, and he was like the bumbling hero who kind of never really got picked for the A team, but then kind of got his own little side quest where he saved the world. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, most people don't know this, but Booster Gold also was afraid of planes.
Nice. What was the name of the little robot he had? It's named like Skeets or something goofy.
Was it Skeet, Skeet, Skeet?
Oh, Skeet, 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 Skeet.
So, yeah. But I do agree that
Skeets. You are correct.
Yeah, I think Chris Pratt would be a good Booster Gold. I don't really want him to. I feel like if you hitch your wagon to what James Gunn's doing with DC, it's going to end badly. But maybe it's going to be the one hit for him. So, and this is going to be another one that's going to be an HBO Max series. It's not going to be a full-on movie or anything. So I don't know about that, whether that's worth it or not either. This one is another before. So again, we fired Henry Cavill, but we're going to be making a Supergirl movie, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, because that was one of the titles that Superman had, was Man of Tomorrow. So of course, and what's really worrisome, if you've read any comic books of late, is that they're going to be taking their cues from a Tom King written miniseries. Tom King, not good writer. I think, if you want to talk about his most famous moment in comic books, is when he bait and switched all of comic book fandom with Batman marrying Catwoman.
Oh, it sounds like our guest has to leave. Little Chad. Matt said he hit the wall.
Oh
man! As soon as I came on, dude, my eyes started getting heavy. That Z monster started whooping my ass.
I think it's more little Chad's dulcet tones.
Yeah, when I'm just able to talk, and when you're not just running around shooting cop cars and
oh man,
you're probably still tired from last night watching Sleepaway Camp and then editing. I'm amazed you got that out as quick as you did. That was amazing.
5 hours, I guess.
Yeah, you turned that around fast.
Yeah, it was a good one, man. I thought it was really good.
Anybody who hasn't seen, retweeted and I shared and everything, but if you go to Mad Barber Entertainment for Movies with Mad, we watched Sleepaway Camp as a group, and I hadn't seen it before, and that movie, and to quote my friend here who's on our show, is cuckoo bananas. And
it is very cuckoo bananas.
So if you want to have a good time, go and watch that. Jonas, great convo, guys. I've got a late night ahead, and it was great to listen while getting work done. Catch you later. So we've got a couple people getting sleepy. I guess I need to start adding some morning zoo level talk instead of the NPR voice. So.
I can only bring so much energy.
I've been up all day. I tried to take a nap earlier. I couldn't get it done. But
well, thanks for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't stay, man. Next week I should be good. I should be good next week. I'll stay.
No, we'll get some weeb shit for our certified weebologist next week. Maybe we can have some people come from LD's chat to really have a good time with you.
Yeah, because that's a bunch you want. Watch this video. No, watch this video.
Well, we're not monetized. They can't super chat to try to make us. So.
I paid you to watch this video. I'll pay you more to watch this video instead. You are a bunch of whores, chat.
And I come and get shit all over it.
That is my favorite part to watch, is just you baiting them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love LD. I love his chat. But I don't know what it has been over the last couple of days, but there is some serious entitlement on some chat participants in there.
Yeah, that's why I go in there. I play the bad cop.
Just watch the show, guys.
You shit's stupid.
Just enjoy the show.
Well, today's one was really bad. Some of the VTuber thing you were watching, I was just like, oh god.
But I had fun because Erie and we have a good back and forth, man.
I know. Yeah. You go. You're good with that. Although hopefully they don't watch our movies with Mad to see the film's choices. Yeti always gets us to watch where women are constantly being assaulted just left and right.
As they should be. All right, I'm going to head out on that note. Bye, guys.
All right, bye, man. Yeah, so...
No, he really left because he didn't want to talk about Supergirl, but
yeah, I don't blame him. Because all right, so Supergirl, I've got a soft spot for the old 1980s movie with Helen Slater. Because man, Helen Slater was note perfect in the Supergirl outfit. You remember that movie?
Vaguely, but here's the thing, right? Like, they don't even know where they're going with Superman right now. Why are you worried about Supergirl? Like, Supergirl does not exist without Superman. The whole story behind Supergirl is like Superman kind of, teaches her and raises her and takes her under his wing. Like, that's kind of a big angle of it.
Well, yeah, it's because the good story concept for Supergirl is because she was a teenager when Krypton exploded. She wasn't a baby. So she's got memories of what she lost. And so she's kind of troubled and rudderless. So Superman does get to act as a mentor to help really guide her into being a hero and what it means to be a hero. Basically, trying to act like Pa Kent to her, to show her about what's right and wrong. And I really like it because it actually emphasizes how important Superman's human roots are for the hero he is, and not being Kryptonian. Like, it's him being Kryptonian and having powers isn't why he's Superman. It's because of Ma and Pa Kent raising him to fight for truth, justice, and the American way. That's why he's Superman. And so the best Supergirl story.
A chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then come to Earth. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. Yay! I wonder if she'll start fem-splaining to Superman how she's had it so much harder than him and he doesn't understand, and she's so much better than him because of everything she's had to deal with.
I guarantee you there's going to be a discussion about how he doesn't understand her trauma.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, that's what I want in my superhero movies. It's the best part, right? The feelings and the talking about their feelings and the reviewing their feelings and their coming to term with their feelings, and then, maybe sharing their feelings and having big powwows where they can discuss their. No, I want to see fucking people beat up supervillains and stop the world from being destroyed. That's what I want. That's what I want in a superhero show.
Yeah, but I need it to be a little better written than Black Adam was with The Rock, because I do expect a little bit of, a little
Here's
bit of
the
effort.
thing. Black Adam wasn't bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of meh. Right, but these movies where they're just going off on the emotional tangents and talking about how hard they have it and trying to be really dark and moaning and bitching about how bad their lives were and how poorly everyone treats them because they're oppressed by the patriarchy or misogyny or whatever. Like, these are not topics that I care to have discussed as the front and center purpose of a superhero movie. You want to put them in there in the subtext, fine. But like, stop beating me over the head with them and making them the front and center part of the the narrative. The front and center of the narrative should be this evil villain is about to do this evil thing. It's really bad. The superhero's got to stop him. They're going to fight. That should be pretty much every superhero movie.
I'm not going to disagree. Every superhero movie should kind of hit those basic points that are what people want.
That should and like I said, you can put a lot of stuff in the subtext and have side arcs and have, underlying narratives and everything else. But front and center should be the conflict between the superhero and the villain. That should be the front and center focus of any superhero movie. Mm-hmm. They are not doing that with most of these shows and movies lately. They are making front and center the feelings, the emotions. No, it's not working, clearly.
So it kind of reminds me, because when we I'm talking about Black Adam, and I think I've mentioned this before in our show. I felt like Black Adam was kind of like a 90s throwback, like where it was that level of superhero movie like Spawn or, Phantom or what you'd get with one of those movies back then.
Mm-hmm.
But like what you're talking about is when superhero movies started really turning the corner was like with Blade and X-Men. Those were kind of the two that really brought it home, like what you were talking about, where there was an emphasis on the dynamic between the hero and the villain. Like in Blade, where it was, Stephen Dorff against Wesley Snipes. Like they had really good moments with them facing off as villains. It has one of my favorite lines, like a badass line in movies, which was at the end when Blade was like, some mother effer's always trying to ice skate uphill. just makes me laugh.
And this is just, in my opinion, like a sign of kind of the lack of comprehensive ability in the writers that are putting these things together. But like, front and center should be the conflict between the superhero and the villain. That does not mean that you can't explore some of the emotional depth of the characters involved, and you can't, experiment with some of the relationship dynamics as they progress throughout the story. But everything should be driving toward that final confrontation with the superhero and the villain. You can have relationships, you can have character building, you can build up those interconnections between said characters along the way, as long as it serves the story. But what we so often see in modern movies and modern storytelling is everything has to grind to a halt so we can shoehorn in a scene where we talk about the emotions or the societal, constraints of X, Y, or Z, and just the main progress toward that final conflict just stops dead so that we can tell this other story that we wanted to tell about some social, construct or misogyny or how rough women have it in the modern day. Like, you want to put that shit in, make it part of your story progression. Help it. It's like rule number one of writing. Does this drive you closer to your conclusion. If the answer is no, then you don't need it and it can be cut. They don't do that anymore. They are willing to just slam the brakes on the main story progression to talk about shit that has nothing to do with, nor does it matter to, the progression of the main story. And I get the distinct impression just from this little, abstract that we read on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, that you're going to see them slam the brakes at least a couple times so that they can tell you about society.
I'm sure that there's going to be maybe a point about how, and I'm just guessing, it'll be, I don't know how the line will get delivered, but perhaps that the patriarchy is why Krypton blew up.
Yeah, because a bunch of men made bad decisions.
Or it won't be
never would have happened if the women were in charge.
Or that the men wouldn't, because of the men, more people weren't evacuated, families weren't able to get away. There's going to be something along that line.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So what's real, and this is another left field choice. He's doing a Swamp Thing movie.
A horror film that promises to close out the first part of the first chapter.
Yeah, so he's, how
part of the first chapter. I'm assuming the chapters are like phases.
Exactly, he's calling them chapters, and he's dubbed this chapter Gods and Monsters.
Okay, but this is the first part of the first chapter.
Correct.
So that means nothing. This doesn't even close out the first chapter. It just closes out the first part of the first chapter.
Yeah, I don't really understand what it's getting at either, myself. Because I also don't think that Swamp Thing is a very good choice for a movie. Did you ever see the low budget Swamp Thing movies they made?
I've seen a lot of Swamp Thing stuff. I don't know if I ever saw the movies per se.
Heather Locklear was in the sequel, The Return of Swamp Thing.
Oh, I think I did a long time ago. They weren't that great. Nothing Swamp Thing was ever that great.
Exactly. He's not the kind of character that... He's one of those ones where really nerdy comic book people will talk about how great the Alan Moore run of Swamp Thing was. Whoopsie-doo. He's not going to sell tickets. He's not meant for normies. And again, maybe I will be amazed. James Gunn could prove me wrong, because I didn't think Guardians of the Galaxy, when it first got announced, because I knew Guardians of the Galaxy and who they were from being a comic book fan, I was like, why is Marvel doing this? This is they have so many other characters that they could pull from. Why in the world would we be deep diving into Guardians of the Galaxy before we make X, Y, or Z movie? And then when it came out, I was like, this movie is awesome. I'm actually a pretty big fan of how they did it. Good for you, James Gunn. You made me a believer.
I mean, some of this stuff might turn out to be good, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I think a lot of times these Hollywood types, they get too much fucking credit. Taika Waititi being a great example. Dude, you made one good Thor movie, and suddenly you think you're king shit.
Well, I think these guys are really good when they're still in check, where there's still somebody to challenge them.
Yeah.
And when they get too high on their own farts and get to a point where they can demand carte blanche, that's where trouble happens. When no one can tell you no.
Where do we think James Gunn is at this point?
Well, he runs the entire DC slate now. Who sells him no? He's giving himself the job as the writer for all these projects. He's getting to keep his wife as the main star, who's apparently she's going to be like Coulson was for Marvel, where she's going to start just popping up in the movies because she works for the, Amanda Waller's group.
Great.
And it bothers me that, you said that you weren't that you needed to get rid of Henry Cavill because you're basically resetting the entire, DC film. And I'm like, okay, I don't agree with that, because I thought Henry Cavill was a fantastic choice. But if you're resetting the whole thing, I get what, I suppose it makes sense. It's like when you see guys in
Yeah, but then you
in
look
sports,
at you look at these movies and you're like,
he's
you're
not
resetting
resetting.
shit.
No, he's keeping the stuff that he wants with his buddies
Yeah.
or his wife. Like, because Jason Momoa gets to stay. Apparently, Ezra Miller gets to stay. So basically,
Yeah,
we're all.
and Ezra Miller, really? Like, of all the people you didn't get rid of, he should have been the first to go. As far as I can tell, dude is human refuse.
I have to believe Ezra Miller has information about people in Hollywood circles that he hasn't been let go yet.
I mean, it must be. I mean, seems like most of those people have plenty of skeletons in the closet, but like that dude is a piece of shit.
Yeah, the logic astounds me because I don't, again, we opened up when we talked about it. No one is going to see Flash for Ezra Miller. Like, there's not a fan base for him.
No, and I mean, what was the first movie he was in was Justice League, right?
Yes, that's where he got introduced.
And nobody liked him as the Flash.
Yeah, they all thought he was kind of annoying and stupid. And then now the
He had a couple funny
Snyderverse,
lines.
yeah, the Snyderverse fans are, which I don't even want to get into that argument because those people are, I'm not going to classify them. They're a group of fans. They're very passionate. I very much disagree with Zack Snyder's take on the DC characters, and I think he was the wrong choice.
I didn't think the Snyder cut was any better than the original cut.
If anything, I think the Snyder cut makes a lot of things worse because remember, these are supposed to be integrated with the rest of those DC Universe movies they were making.
Mm-hmm.
And the Snyder cut completely destroys all the other movies that came after Justice League.
Yeah.
Our
I mean, that's just the problem with DC from the get-go. They've been rudderless. They just go wherever the winds are taking them, and they don't have any idea about a plan or a course because they've never set one.
Just checking. Yeah, so that covers all the projects.
Yeah, and even looking at these announced projects that are coming up, like, do you see like a common thread that ties these together, or do they all just look like random shit that he's throwing at the wall to see what sticks?
All right, here's a fun quote. Read that quote. I want you to read it so I can hear the anger rise.
We didn't fire Henry. Henry was never cast, said Gunn. For me, it's about who do I want to cast as Superman and who do the filmmakers we have want to cast. And for me, for this story, it isn't Henry. I like Henry. I think he's a great guy. I think he's getting dicked around by a lot of people, including the former regime at this company. But this Superman is not Henry for a number of reasons.
I could hear the sigh.
If Henry was never cast, why was he told by the studio to announce that he was going to be doing another Superman movie? The correct response to this is, I did fire Henry. He was cast, but I shit-canned that movie along with him. Because fuck that guy. He didn't fit in my vision.
I mean, that would be the honest answer. I mean, and if he cast anybody who's over the age of 30, he could have cast Henry Cavill in the movie he's making.
Well, if you're going with 40-year-old Batman, you have to go with an older Superman. They're about the same age, if I remember correctly.
There's the Trinity is all supposed to be, well, aside from the fact that Wonder Woman is effectively immortal, they're all supposed to be in the same age group.
Fucking ridiculous.
But doesn't that strike you as kind of a sleazy answer? Like, I didn't fire him. He just wasn't cast. Like, oh,
Yeah,
like,
it's a lie. It's what it is. Like, maybe he wasn't cast and you shit-canned the movie, but guess what? Part of shit-canning the movie would be firing the people who are working on the movie. Even if we were still in the early stages, Henry Cavill had already been told to announce that he was working with DC to make another Superman movie. So the project was essentially greenlit at that point. You shit-canned it. Henry Cavill and anyone else who was going to be involved in that product were all fired. You're dick. You fired Henry. Yes, you did.
Yep. And I feel like he might even.
And honestly, he could have just said, "Yeah, I mean I didn't like the way that movie looked. I want to do something different, so I shut it down, and I had to fire Henry Cavill, and I really wish I didn't." But no, you tried to twist words and lie through your fucking teeth. Dick move.
Mm-hmm. And what I think is, by making this choice, he's forever making sure whoever does get cast as Superman is linked directly to Henry Cavill now as a comparison. Like, everyone's always going to be like, hey, how would have Cavill handled this? Would Cavill have looked better? Is Cavill the guy who could, it's kind of like what's going to happen to Liam Hemsworth in The Witcher. It is what it is. There's no delay. It's not like when they made Superman Returns and Brandon Routh came in and nobody had played Superman since Christopher Reeve in Superman 4.
Dude, Liam Hemsworth should talk to his agent, his representation, his lawyers, and be like, "Can you get me out of this contract? Because they have fucked The Witcher, and I don't want to be in this project anymore."
It is it's not gonna, like, after the Blood Origins.
Nah, after the Blood Origins, it's done. It's fucking done. And season 3 doesn't sound like it's going to be much better if Henry Cavill walked away from it.
There's part of me that wants to watch season 3 to see what they did that made him go like, fuck off, I'm done. This is like,
oh, I'm going to watch season 3. I'm never watching it again after that. And if any of our viewers don't want to support Netflix by watching season 3 of The Witcher, do not worry. I will watch it. And I will tell you all the things that pissed me off. I'm sure there will be a lot of them.
the anger when you watched Blood Origins, just when we just went through the first episode, it was so righteous and entertaining.
I mean, I know a lot of people probably hated Rings of Power. Rings of Power was the worst show. Blood Origin was the worst for me. Like, Blood Origin, by comparison, made Rings of Power look all right. And that's saying something, because Rings of Power was a steaming pile of shit. But Blood Origin was, like, worse.
Did you see the news that Rings of Power didn't even crack the top 15 streaming shows for the year?
Yeah, it wasn't even in the among the top viewed on Amazon, was it?
No, it was actually beat out on Amazon by like Reacher and Terminalist.
Yeah.
So, like, what were?
Go ahead and make that second season. Apparently, you got a couple more billion you gotta get rid of.
Well, there's something called the sunk cost fallacy, right? Where when you put enough money in, to admit failure at that point would be would just like break you mentally, so you don't.
Yeah, and if we just put another $1 billion into this, we can turn it around and people are gonna love it. I'm sure of it. And then when season 2 fails, if we just let's do $2 billion for the next season, and then people will love it. I'm sure of it. You can't buy your way out of this. It's a shit show. And your idea of getting rid of every male writer in the writer's room, yeah, that's going to make your show better.
Oh, you remember, was it last week when we looked at the streaming ratings because it was when Witcher Blood Origin came out?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you ready. The new week's ratings are in, which represents the second week of that.
Well, we are coming up on the the second hour of the show, and it's been kind of a slow news week, so.
Yeah, but I'm going to show you something. Look at this. Look what's not on the top 10 list at all.
The Witcher Blood Origin?
Nope.
Can you go back to the previous weeks?
Does Nielsen let me do that? Let's see.
I wonder. It would be interesting to see. It was on there for 1 week and then dropped back off.
Yeah, so because this is the week of January 2nd. Let's see.
That quick.
12/2. So what's the week before? So 12/20.
Glad to see Wednesday is starting to fall off too. I know a lot of people liked it, but I still think they're wrong.
Let me start. Nielsen.
You trying to find the previous week?
I am trying to find the previous week.
That was quick too. Yeah, because it came out like the week of Christmas, right?
All right, so all right, I've got like for the week. All right, so the week that it came out, which was like the Christmas week, so the 26th through the 1st of January.
Yeah.
All right, I got the Hollywood Reporter has one I can share. Because Nielsen doesn't make it easy. So here's this one. So overall, that week, it is number 8.
With 912 million watch hours? Oh, minutes viewed. Okay.
Minutes viewed, yeah. So I think it premiered. When did it premiere? Okay.
I think it premiered on Christmas Day, if I remember correctly. Witcher.
It premiered Christmas Day.
Yeah,
but
December 25th.
Yeah, so this is its first week.
Yeah.
And it peaked in its first week at number 8 overall and number 5 in series, and by the second week it was out, it had dropped off the list.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. It was on the list for 1 week.
Oh, hey, Brahma's here.
Which honestly is 1 week more than it deserved, but whatever.
Howdy.
Hi, Brahma.
Yeah, Brahma was on fire on the Sleepaway Camp movies with Mad because he was actually awake, so that was good. So shocker that if he's not half asleep when we do those movies, he's able to make some really good jokes. But yeah, so Witcher Blood Origin had no staying power, like none. Because all right, so that was the first week. Let's switch back to its second week. Where look, Wednesday is still overall and in the top 10. And what that came out in like November.
Yeah, it finally slid down to number 3, but it's hanging on. Again, I didn't think it was great. There's a whole like colonizer, like Wednesday was just Netflix wanted to come in and shit on Thanksgiving. That's really all Wednesday equates to.
So here's the art. So and Witcher Blood Origin qualifies under the original programming pad. Look at this in the top 10. The Crown and Stranger Things are still in the top 10 that week. And look how far it's getting. Like, these other ones at the top are over 2 billion watch minutes.
Okay, so
1
number 10 got a whole 284 million viewing minutes.
And Witcher wasn't even in that anymore. Like,
Witcher
it didn't
went
even
from 900 something million viewing minutes in that first week to nothing. It dropped off that hard and that fast.
It's if I was at Netflix, I think I might just be thinking, maybe we should cancel season 4 of regular Witcher, because if season 3, which was the last one they have with Henry Cavill, doesn't do anything.
With Netflix, this is probably like the 5th show where I have said, if Netflix really wants to turn it around and start being a profitable and successful streaming service again, they need to fire their entire writer's room and replace them. All of them. Because nobody in there can write.
Well, we did see, there was that story where the people in the writer's room, most of them made fun of the source material. This is from the man who ended up leaving to go be the showrunner for the X-Men animated series relaunch at Disney Plus.
Yeah, they didn't even like The Witcher. So why the fuck are you writing it?
Because The Witcher isn't what they want to write. They're writing a vehicle for what they want to write, which was it wasn't, what's the girl witch name? The girl wizard or whatever her name is. Why am I blanking on her name?
You talking about Yennefer or Tristan?
Yennefer. No, well, they ruined both of them.
Yes, they did.
They ruined, but Yennefer was the one that the Witcher show might as well be called Yennefer.
Yeah, they should have called it The Witch.
Yeah, and then that whole, in season 2, that whole story arc with the elf and the other witch and Yennefer, and it was just like, whatever. I guess they're trying to lore build, but it was tedious and stupid and unnecessary.
Here's the thing, right? If you've got a writer's room full of people who hate The Witcher or don't like The Witcher, have no interest in writing for The Witcher, like, that is like an Italian restaurant interviewing a guy for head chef, and the guy's like, I really love making, Asian cuisine. Chinese food is my specialty. Really good at Chinese food. And they're like, but this is an Italian restaurant. Can you cook Italian food? No, I hate Italian food. You're hired.
It's like lo mein. I'm going to make lo mein. That's what you're going to get. Be happy with it. I hope you're ready for it.
Like, you wouldn't hire a cook that doesn't like the food you serve. Why would you hire a writer that doesn't like the material you want them to write?
Well, that's the you'd think that people, like, if the showrunner is doing that, maybe the first season you don't know what the showrunner's doing because you haven't seen the results, and maybe you're a little bit off, like hands off. Mm-hmm. But once you actually see the results, now I get that the first season, the best example, and I brought it up earlier, is Transformers, right? It made money. If you're a hands-off executive, you might be like, oh, let's let Michael Bay make some more. What they weren't paying attention to was the people who went and saw it, who said this was a piece of shit and I'm not ever going to see this again. And getting those diminishing returns. Like, by the time you got to, I got my 8-year-old who's really into Transformers now, and he sees the clips of Age of Extinction, which was the last Transformers that made money, and it was diminishing. And then when they put out Last Night, it just fell off a cliff. But when he sees the clips of Age of Extinction, he sees the Transformers, and they had Dinobots in it. And he's like, why did the Dinobots not look like Dinobots? And I'm like, oh, That's a good question because I don't know the answer on why the Dinobots don't look like Dinobots.
Don't they have another Transformers movie coming out soon?
They do, and it's because they kicked Michael Bay to the curb, and they're trying to soft reboot it with Rise of the Beasts, which is going to be a Beast Wars.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it, and you've got like, Optimus Prime there talking to giant gorilla robot, and I'm just like, what?
It's not Harambe, that is Optimus Primal.
Is that really what his name is?
Yes, his name is Optimus Primal.
Oh my
god. It seems like that bothers you for some reason.
It's just stupid.
Well, I mean, that was what his name in the cartoons was.
Okay.
And Optimus Prime.
I thought the first Transformers movie was good, and the second one was okay, and I was done with Transformers. The third one was crap.
I actually thought the third one was better than the second one, but
I mean, the second one was not nearly as good as the first one, and the third one, maybe it was.
Third one was
the third one where they introduced the two little like smart car assholes that never shut the fuck up and had like Spanish accents.
No, that was the second one.
What? Oh, well then maybe never mind. The second one wasn't okay. The first one was good. The second one annoyed the shit out of me. The third one was okay, and I didn't watch after that.
Yeah, the third one was Dark of the Moon. That's the one where they got Leonard Nimoy to come play Alpha Trion, and they were invading Chicago at the end.
Yeah, that one was okay.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. But I mean, one thing about the Transformers movies is the continuing plot storyline of between movie to movie is just non-existent. So it's like they completely forget and ignore like everything that happened. Like in the second movie, they have Decepticons who can look like people, and they just forget that even happened.
Like, yeah, because didn't one try to kill
Spike at college? Yeah, it was the hot girl turned out to be like a Decepticon. Is like, when could they transform into people? Like, what happened right there?
Yeah.
And we're just gonna ignore that.
And how did she not manage to kill him?
Yeah, I don't know, because like Dark of the Moon was pretty good. Transformers, the first movie, was pretty good, and the second one, which was Rise of the Fallen or Revenge of the Fallen, something of the Fallen, is terrible.
Yeah,
that was the one that was made during the writer's strike, where they were just kind of like scribbling the plot as they were shooting it. So,
yeah. What else we got on here? Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. I need to watch that. I've heard the new season is pretty good.
No, I've heard. I mean, it is good. John Krasinski is really solid.
I mean, I like pretty much everything John Krasinski does.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's trying to be more a director now. That seems like what he wants to do.
I mean, I'm for it. There's a lot of shitty directors out there, so if he's any good at it, great.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he's only really done the Quiet Place movie so far.
I liked The Quiet Place. That was an interesting movie.
Did you see the second one?
Never saw the second one. I figured John Krasinski can't be in the second one, so I didn't really want to watch it.
They open the movie with like a flashback to when the aliens first invade. So which is important because it sets up some of like the dynamic for what's happening later in the sequel. But I think it was also, just that was the only excuse that they could to put him back in the movie.
Yeah.
Which, if as compared to what they did to him in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, it was a lot better. And
what are some of these other things on here? Ginny and Georgia?
I don't know what that is because I canceled Netflix. I'm sure that it's something good.
Kaleidoscope, Emily in Paris. Like none of these look all that interesting to me.
Yeah, I think I don't know. The Netflix ownership of these streaming ratings is starting to get just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Though with Netflix getting rid of that password sharing here,
You hear
maybe
they
we'll
already.
see a shakeup.
So what's funny is Netflix was going to do something. You remember when Xbox and PlayStation 4 were kind of going back and forth before they launched? And Xbox had announced that they were going to be an always online system where if your system every month didn't log on to like Xbox Live just to connect, your system would brick.
No, it was worse than that. Your system had to be online or you couldn't play the games.
Yeah.
Period.
So
Even
in
if you
place,
owned them and they were installed on that Xbox, you needed an online connection to play even single player games.
yeah, which was ridiculous because specifically, and this has came up. I thought of you because I remembered this example. It was from a sailor who asked the question like, "Hey, I'm at sea and we bring our systems with us. I'm not going to be able to be online." And the guy was like, "Hey, just buy an Xbox 360 or whatever I think that was the system that was the previous generation."
Yeah.
And it was just like that was such a dick answer. Like, just buy the old system, don't buy the new games. That's the best you can do.
Yep. No, and it's true. I mean, like we've got some TVs. Usually you got a TV or two in like the workspaces, and then there's like some TVs down in the berthings, but like I had a TV in the test equipment issuing space because that's where I worked. And like, yeah, I hooked a PlayStation up to that. We played all sorts of games on it. I didn't need an online connection. I had the discs.
I had a friend who was also in the Navy. He was one of my high school friends. He bought one of those like little suitcasey looking things where it
Yeah,
would like
so, like
open
it's
up
got the full game
and
system.
it has the speakers and the monitor built in where the system like plugs into it.
Yeah, those aren't cheap. They're like $1,600 usually.
I forget how much he paid for it. I think it was his like Christmas present because he was going on to he was going out to sea right after that,
Yeah.
and he was getting deployed to one of those god awful amphibious assault carrier things.
Yeah.
And he had done one. I think what class are those? They're like
Those are they're still amphibs. They're big decks, but they're LHDs, LHAs.
yeah, I forget what like they usually name the class based on the first boat that gets built out of them or something. Anyway, so regardless,
Wasp?
I know, yeah, I think the Wasp is one of them. There's what I was told was they are the most god awful, like uncomfortable sailing experiences.
Yeah, USS Wasp is LHD-1, so they are wasps.
Yeah, like
Wasp class amphibious assault ship.
Compared to like an aircraft carrier because of the design, since they're kind of like flat bottomed.
Yeah, they're like a little smaller than an aircraft carrier. They generally but they're like they got a helicopter landing deck. They've got like a big door that'll pop down so that like shit can drive out onto shore.
Yeah, and that basically these things were like not fun to sail in. They were like compared to other boats, the seasickness issues would be pretty bad. So anyway, so he got that as a gift from his wife before he went on his deployment, so he could actually do something to try to enjoy himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I brought a PlayStation. We played PlayStation games, and I brought my laptop, and I had Steam on there. Steam didn't require me to have an always on connection. It could
if
run in offline mode. Now, whenever we hit port, I would jump on the Wi-Fi and go on Steam to download games that I didn't have and make sure that I made that connection so that it didn't lock out on me. But I didn't run into too many problems with it.
nice, yeah. So that I just remember. So like what Netflix was going to do was they were going to require that at least once a month you had to get basically anybody who's familiar with two-factor authentication.
Was going to do. I thought they are going to do.
So they pulled it back and said that it was put online by mistake for the United States.
Oh, of course. They're pulling the Wizards of the Coast move.
Yeah, because so many people got pissed about it. You know, I've got devices when I have.
I wonder if pretty soon they're going to give us a survey to ask us how we feel about their idea. Before I canceled Netflix, I had stuff that had been logged in for God knows like a year, 2 years, because I just logged in once and then you just turn it on and you can watch it. If I had to like get my two-factor authentication every couple weeks to put in a code to make sure my Netflix worked, it would piss me off so much. There's people like my father who's older. They're not going to want to do this. Like, they don't remember which email that they've set up. I mean, it's just going to be a nightmare if they do actually implement this. Dude, every time my Crunchyroll does that on one of like the 3 or 4 different TVs in the house or the Xbox or the other Xbox, like every once in a while, one of them falls off, right? And it goes, you need to reconnect this one. And I go, I guess I'm not watching Crunchyroll right now. Let's see what's on YouTube. You know, I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah, you'll have to get I was like, fine, I guess I'll just log into High Dive.
Well, yeah, because like if one of them does fall off, like I need to go get my phone and go to the thing and type in the code. And I'm like, ugh, that is too much work.
I know. So yeah, I've done that before. Like when the app updated, and it wasn't where I was like, oh, okay. It was with Crunchyroll, and it's like, all right, I'm going to High Dive. I'm gonna go watch anime over here.
Yeah.
I don't feel like trying to actually. And I actually know my password and everything. I didn't feel like doing that. Like doing it through the like on screen like keyboard
with the remote.
With the remote is just like so annoying. I'm like, no, I will
spend the next 5 minutes punching everything in and give yourself carpal tunnel just so you can watch some anime.
Exactly. I will just switch over to one of the other anime services. I'll watch Gate again if I need to, if there's nothing else new on. Which I just flip the last like 5 episodes of Gate and just enjoy that if I need it.
I mean, all the episodes are good. Gate was a pretty good one.
I told you for years Gate was good. I'm glad that you finally got it.
For years I didn't have High Dive. I was like, I can't see it on Crunchyroll. And then you were like, it's on High Dive. Get High Dive. And I was like, okay. And I got High Dive. And then what happened? Like 2 days later, I watched it.
Yeah. And you were like, this is good.
Yeah.
I told you the lead character reminded me so much of you because he was a military guy who's an otaku and just does it to support his habits.
I mean, yeah. But he has a sense of patriotism. He was actually a good soldier.
Yeah, see, isn't that basically sum you up too? It's like,
I mean, it did for a while, yeah, for the most part. Then the Navy started going in that woke direction, and I was finding the leadership to be a little less impressive every single day, and finally decided to move on. It was unfortunate. I wanted to do 6 more years. I really did, but it just wasn't it was not working.
It's time to shove off. I'm going to trade it in and I don't need retirement.
Yeah, I pulled chocks. You would be surprised, like myself and a whole bunch of other first-class petty officers who were like, further into our careers, than most. Closer,
if you do more than
retirement than when we enlisted, right?
Well, yeah, general rule is if you do more than 10, that means you're planning to be there for 20.
There were a lot of people who were pulling chocks because they were just so fed up. I was not the only one. I mean, and some of them pulled chocks in more horrible ways than others. Like, I know a couple people committed suicide because they just could not fucking handle it, and they just wanted out so bad, and it's awful. And I mean, from everything I'm seeing and hearing on the news these days, it hasn't gotten any better. So thank God I got out. I really hope the people who are still in can turn it around.
I hope that none of them go and get their health care from Canada, where they're just deciding to actually coach veterans with mental health issues. That's, like, we'll just assist suicide you out of the place.
I could not believe that video.
Where what was it, the lady, the Canadian, was like,
our operators are trained to kill people who are depressed.
What is he? We're trained to eliminate those people. That's
like wow, that's okay. Good job.
I mean, well. I do appreciate when they're just honest about things, though. It's like at least you're coming right out and saying it, because we all know that is what it is.
Yeah. It's always interesting when the mask just comes off like that.
I kind of prefer it that way, to just be like, look, if this, if that's what you believe, just be on, like, we all, like, anybody who really tracks this knows that's what you're going for. So just don't pretend. We all know what it is.
Yeah. But we're about an hour and a half in. We've already taken a look at the Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered most of our topics. We went through the entire DC slate.
Yeah, like I said, kind of a slow news week.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless we were going to try to get ourselves canceled by talking about Eliza Blue.
Shh. She who shall not be named cannot be mentioned on this show.
I didn't share a picture of her World Star Hip Hop.
Shh.
But then we can do our Channels Under Attack videos.
No, we can't. We won't have a channel.
Would it be that? Well, I guess, yeah, we could fight it, but I mean, we could do a.
I don't even give a shit. Who is Eliza? Who cares?
I mean, she's. See, I'm 100% fine with people who grift openly. In fact, I think it's optimal. Like, if you're gonna grift and you're open about it, I respect you for being, like, hey, just being like, this is my grift. I'm doing it. She is. I think I heard the quartering use this term, and I thought it was very funny. Was it a clout goblin?
Yeah, but like.
But how isn't that just a nice visual term too? Clout goblin.
I don't think anybody should be getting their stuff, suspended, banned, etc., over this person. But like, this person is inconsequential. I don't know why anyone fucking cares. Clearly, she's got dirt on people. I guess we'll leave it at that and call it a night.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think she does. I'm a little bothered because obviously, friends with Chrissy, and she was one of the channels that was getting attacked. So I don't want to say.
I hadn't noticed that.
Well, it was she was getting they in the last like 24 hours they started launching privacy complaints against people.
Oh, fuck off.
So the quartering, Chrissy Mayer, I think Lauren Chen.
Really?
Yeah. There's like 24 channels had them who had complaints filed, and apparently the way it was all videos where like at some point in the background a thumbnail or a still or some kind of footage of the World Star Hip Hop video was on it. And that video was publicly shown and is still available on lots of places on the internet. So,
and she's, I would imagine.
And she's clearly a public figure. Like, that's
Yeah.
not even a debatable. Like, she's voluntarily made herself the face of human advocacy.
Yeah.
I mean, human trafficking advocacy, I should say.
Beware the clout goblin.
But that's one of my new favorite internet terms. Has that been around a while? Because it's the first time I'd heard it.
I don't know that specific term has been thrown around. I've heard variations of so many things, but clout goblin sounds pretty good.
I feel like that's like a card you would draw in like Magic.
Yeah, could be.
What do you think?
There are a lot of goblin cards in Magic.
What would be the stat roll for a clout goblin?
Clout goblin would probably be high speed, sacrificial, maybe do some extra damage. Like cost 1 red, be a 1/1 with haste, so you can attack immediately as soon as you throw it on the board. And then, like, if it dies, it can destroy like a creature. Maybe.
Beware the clout goblin. the suicide clout goblin card.
Yeah. Volatile clout goblin. That would be the name of the card.
Yeah, I'm not saying that would be a good short for our editor, but maybe think about that. Because a short with some images of a clout goblin on a Magic card.
I have to step away for a moment, so I'll let you wrap it up.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and. All right. On that note, since my co-host had to go, I think we've had a good time. Hopefully, everybody who was listening here on YouTube or on Twitter, where I also live stream it, enjoyed their time with us tonight. We'll be back hopefully next week. Bring a couple guests if we can. Just have a good time hanging out. And let us know if you liked it. Like, subscribe, share. All the stuff YouTubers ask you to do. We don't really do it as often, but hopefully you can. And you'll want to come back. So we'll see you next week on the Ascendant Art podcast. Bye, everybody.